Hey Team Vandenberg, I wanted to take just a couple of minutes to talk to you about our sexual assault prevention and response program. A lot of folks don't realize that every 73 seconds, an American is sexually assaulted. And every 9 minutes, one of those victims is a child. And it's estimated that every year, 18,900 service members experience unwanted sexual contact. It goes without saying that that is unacceptable. And personally, I've had the opportunity as a senior non-commissioned officer to serve as a victim's advocate, and it really opened my eyes to how critical our SAPR program is to ensuring mission accomplishment. Sexual assault, unwanted sexual contact, they threaten national security, and we will not stand for that. Here at Team Vandenberg, we are lucky to have the best SAPR program that I've seen in my entire career, and they are working very hard to ensure that we are taking care of the people that take care of the mission. Understand this: no sexual assault is acceptable. Unwanted sexual contact will not be tolerated. We will not accept environments that allow those types of horrific things to take place. One team, one fight. We have to take care of the people who take care of the mission. And one of the ways that we do that is by strengthening and supporting our SAPR program.
Hey Team Vandenberg, it's Teresa, your SAPR victim advocate, just here to go over a few resources with you guys. I think especially right now with the climate that we have going on, is that much more important for us to know what the help looks like. That way when people do come to us when they need a shoulder to lean on or they're not sure where to go, we can point them in the right direction. So what I wanted to start off with today was just reviewing the reporting options. So we have restricted and unrestricted, right? On the unrestricted side of things, there's no investigation with OSI, there's no leadership involvement, it's just us, the full-time staff in the SAPR office, and any other volunteer victim advocates that might be involved. So just keep in mind, as a victim advocate, I have confidentiality. And that means that whatever you say to me stays with me with a couple exceptions. So if I feel like maybe you're at risk of hurting yourself or someone else, then I'd have to get some other people involved just to make sure that you and the community is safe. But other than that, whatever you say to me stays with me. Just a couple of things with the restricted report. Even though it's so closed off and there's nobody else that's involved, there's still tons of resources that we can offer you. Anything related to mental health and counseling resources, maybe you need some spiritual help, we can get you connected with the chaplain. Even with the restricted report, we can get you connected with a special victims counsel, so now we have lawyers that represent the best interests and the rights of the victims in these crimes. We have medical help that we can get you, prophylactics, emergency contraception, basically anything related to the assault that we can do to help you physically, we're here for it. Another thing too is even with a restricted report, you still have access to a forensic exam. And the nice thing with that is OSI holds on to it for up to 10 years. So it does give you some substantial amount of time to figure out, is this something that maybe you want to pursue in the future or not? Another great initiative with a restricted report is a new DoD program called the CATCH program, which is built to help us find serial offenders. So if you're interested more in this program, just give us a call over here at the SAPR office and we can give you a little bit more information on that. So that's what the restricted report looks like. Again, closed off, nobody else knows what's going on, it's just us in the SAPR office. On the unrestricted side of things, there is an investigation with OSI and your leadership is involved. But we have all the same resources that we talked about before: the mental health, the spiritual health, the medical, physical, anything that we can do to help you pick up the pieces, we'll try to figure it out with you. I would even say that when we have an unrestricted report, there's a little bit more wiggle room because now we have your leadership advocating on your behalf with us. And we have a few resources available with an unrestricted report that are not available with the restricted report. Things like the expedited transfer program. So we can let's say somebody, maybe they're having a hard time just coping here on the base because they're seeing their perpetrator on a consistent basis, or it's just really hard when you're still living amongst all your triggers to just try to live your life and find that happiness and go on with your recovering and your healing process. So sometimes people just need a fresh start, and we can do that with the expedited transfer program, which is basically helping people PCS under a humanitarian where they can go to a new location where they're closer to friends, family, and have stronger support systems. Another thing available with an unrestricted report is military protection orders and civilian protection orders. So if you really feel like your safety is at risk here, we have processes in place that we can, implement in order to make sure that you're being taken care of and you're protected. Again, these are things that are available with an unrestricted report that are not available with a restricted report. Another thing to keep in mind is just be aware of who the mandated reporters are. There are certain people on this base, just by their duty within the squadron, their AFSC, that makes them someone who's a mandated reporter or someone who has to report to law enforcement whenever they find out about a crime. Specifically here, we're talking about sexual assault. Some examples of mandated reporters include your commander, your first sergeant, basically anybody that's in your direct chain of command, anyone that works with OSI, anybody that's part of the security forces squadron. These are all people who are considered mandated reporters, right? So just keep in mind who you talk to. Sometimes depending on who you tell, you may unintentionally be opening up that unrestricted report, right? Let's say somebody confides in their first sergeant. Unfortunately at that point, the first sergeant has to report to OSI. Now it became an independent investigation. So just some things to keep in mind. The SAPR office, it's not our job to investigate, it's not our job to prosecute or anything like that, or to tell you what to do. We're just here to support. And I think that it's so important for us to really preserve the right for somebody to choose which reporting option they want, whether it's restricted or unrestricted. When we look at sexual assault, the reason behind these crimes, it's because of power and control. So in order to help empower that victim, in order to bring back the power and the control that they lost as a result of the sexual assault, we have to help them make small decisions for themselves. So, asking them, how do you feel about going to the SAPR office? How do you feel about talking to a victim advocate? Do you think you're leaning more towards restricted or unrestricted? What types of resources do you think that you might need? Right? It's so important for us to let that person decide for themselves what they're wanting to do, because not everybody might be in the right frame of mind or just be in a good spot to be able to go through the process of making a report of sexual assault. So just something to keep in mind. If somebody ever discloses to you that they've been a victim of sexual assault, please come to us first so we can talk about what the resources are with that person. We can explain this is what a restricted report looks like, this is what an unrestricted report looks like, and we can just help them make the best decision for themselves. Alright, so another thing that I wanted to talk about today was, I think a lot of times people get really caught up in, I don't know anybody that's been a victim of sexual assault. Is it really that big of an issue? It's not really my place. I feel uncomfortable. You don't have to be a part of the SAPR office or a volunteer victim advocate or a law enforcement officer or anybody that's in some sort of official capacity in order to make a difference. Every single person has a voice and every single person has the ability to make some sort of change and impact lives. Right now, we're sitting at every 1 out of 4 women and every 1 out of 6 men who's been a victim of sexual assault. So if we look at those statistics and we look at the population of Vandenberg, there's a possibility that there's tons of survivors here walking around the base, people in your work center, people that you see at the commissary, at the BX. Everybody is carrying some sort of a burden. Everybody has a story. Everybody's been through something, and it's just something to keep in mind. We really need to go back to, that common human decency, kindness, compassion, empathy. I truly believe that empathy is a thread that connects all of us together. And so just being there for other people, being able to see, things that are inappropriate and saying something, when you hear inappropriate jokes, when you see somebody that might be touching somebody inappropriately, the sexual comments, the harassment, all of these things can lead up to so much more, right? When we're talking about the continuum of harm. So when you see things like this going on, please say something, right? Use your voice in order to make some sort of change, because when you don't say anything, you're basically saying, hey, I'm okay with that type of behavior, I condone it, I'm allowing it to happen, and things can progressively get worse from there. Sometimes we have no idea what people have gone through, and so for someone to hear maybe an inappropriate joke, maybe that person has some past sexual trauma, right? So just, again, more things to consider. And trying to take care of each other. I know it's really hard to say something sometimes. I know we have personal barriers, we have social barriers, organizational barriers. There's a lot of things that keep us from, speaking up and saying something, but just know that when you're speaking up, when you're supporting those people, you're supporting survivors of sexual assault. Know that if at any point you have any questions or something, you might just need somebody to talk to. Us here at the SAPR office, we're available to you 24/7. Our number is 606-SARC, 606-7272. And again, know that when you talk to us, we're going to believe you, and we're going to do whatever we can to help you pick up the pieces.
I'm Captain Clark Campbell, the Chief of Military Justice at the Vandenberg Air Force Base Legal Office. I'm here to talk about a few of the legal aspects of the SAPR program. The SAPR term sexual assault relates to many crimes under the UCMJ, including rape, sexual assault, aggravated sexual contact, abusive sexual contact, forcible sodomy, or attempts to commit those acts. But for purposes of this training, we'll talk about sexual assault in general terms. Recent changes to the Uniform Code of Military Justice have expanded the rights for victims in many areas, and we're going to go through a few of those, but for more information, please contact your local legal office or SAPR office. Service members who are convicted of sexual assault face a mandatory dishonorable discharge or dismissal. The statute of limitations has been removed for sexual assault. That means after that change, whenever authorities find out about sexual assault, that can be prosecuted however far in the future that prosecution takes place. Victims now have the right to be present at preliminary hearings under charges of sexual assault. Victims also have the right to get a statement of trial results after the close of any trial about sexual assault. Anytime area defense counsels or defense counsels involved in these cases want to talk to a victim of sexual assault, they're required to make that request through a victim's special victim counsel. Victims can also take support personnel with them to interviews with the defense counsel, such as their SVC or the SARC or the VA. Victims have the opportunity to submit statements to the convening authority after a trial when they're considering clemency, which means adjusting the sentence offered at trial. And that convening authority also can't consider the character of the victim when considering clemency, unless evidence of that character was introduced properly at trial. Sex-related offenses are required to be included in personnel records. Commanders who have incoming personnel with those sexual offenses in their records are required to review those records and be aware of the history of that member. Lastly, victims have the opportunity and the right to express their preference as to jurisdiction when crimes of sexual assault are committed in the United States. That means the victim can say whether they'd prefer for the military or civilian agencies to handle the investigation and prosecution of those crimes of which they're victims. Now for a few more explanation of rights and opportunities for victims of sexual assault, I'm going to turn it over to Jen Vasquez, who is one of our legal team and our Victim Witness Assistant Program Coordinator.
Hi, my name is Jennifer Vasquez, and I'm the Victim Witness Assistance Program Coordinator for the Office of the Staff Judge Advocate here at Vandenberg. It may seem like a given that sexual assault is a criminal act, but it's important to remember that sexual assault violates the victim in a deeply personal way that can have lasting effects that are much larger than the crime may appear. Because the effects are so huge, the Air Force and Space Force take a strong position against any sexual assault. All those who commit sexual assault are held accountable through the process of the military justice system. Commanders at all levels track these cases and ensure that the cases are dealt with as justice requires. You may have someone in your unit or circle of friends who reports a sexual assault, is a victim of sexual assault, or is accused of sexual assault. If you are in that situation, remember to treat everyone with respect and professionalism. Those who make unrestricted reports of sexual assault and their dependents are protected from retaliation, reprisal, ostracism, and maltreatment. In addition, witnesses and bystanders who intervene to prevent sexual assaults or report sexual assaults are also protected. If you see retaliation, reprisal, coercion, ostracism, or maltreatment, you can report to a member of your chain of command or to the IG. People who report those crimes are protected by military whistleblower protections. Any of those actions should be reported to a military criminal investigative organization, such as OSI. Everyone is presumed innocent until proven guilty by the military justice process. The military justice system is continually adapting to make sure that sexual assault victims have all the resources they need. Victims' rights have been included in UCMJ, and many victims are entitled to a Special Victims Counsel, or SVC, an attorney who can explain their rights and help them exercise those rights.
Good afternoon. My name is Captain Melissa Ken. I'm the Special Victims Counsel, or SVC, stationed here at Vandenberg Air Force Base. My area of responsibility also includes Edwards Air Force Base, LA Air Force Base, and March Air Reserve Base. As a Special Victims Counsel, I am a licensed attorney, and I am detailed to represent victims of sexual assault and sex-related offenses. Starting in December of 2020, the SVC program will also be expanding its eligibility to victims of domestic violence. As an SVC, we are, as I mentioned, all licensed attorneys, and we have attorney-client confidentiality with our clients. So what that means is that we're able to respect and maintain the confidentiality of restricted reports. It is important to note that we are not able to take or create a restricted report. That lies with the SAPR office, but we are able to maintain that confidentiality and make sure that our clients, regardless of the type of report, are being taken care of. The individuals that are eligible for a Special Victims Counsel include active duty, Guard and Reserve, dependents, even unaffiliated civilians can be represented by Special Victims Counsel in certain circumstances. That determination is made on a case-by-case basis, but the bottom line is that if you or somebody that you know thinks that they might benefit from the services of a Special Victims Counsel, please reach out to your local SVC office or contact your local SAPR office, and they'll be able to help you fill out the referral form and paperwork associated with requesting an SVC. The SVC office can also, of course, assist clients through the military justice process, but we do a lot of specialized legal assistance work for our clients. The areas of legal assistance that we see most often are landlord-tenant law, protecting our clients from the accused, as well as dependent support, making sure that our clients' assailants are paying proper support if our client was their spouse or if our client has children in common with their assailant. Those are just 3 discrete areas of legal assistance where we provide help, but basically any personal, civil, legal issue that arises in connection to your case that you have with the SVC and that is routing through the military justice process or a civilian justice process, the SVC can either provide you direct assistance or we will give you access to a resource that can help you with that issue. As an SVC, it is my duty to represent the stated interests of my clients. So what that means is that I will not substitute my judgment for what the client wants. For example, if a client tells me that they are not interested in participating in a case and that's what is best for them in their recovery, that's what I'm going to advocate for. It doesn't matter the status of the evidence or what I think as an attorney. What matters is that the client does not want to participate, and that's what I'm going to do as their attorney. I will never substitute my judgment for their decision. So as I mentioned earlier, we do legal assistance work, but also one of the biggest components of our practice is helping our clients through the military justice process. It is a very long and complicated process, especially to someone who has no experience with it, no legal training. It can be quite a daunting process. So our job is to help walk our clients through that process and make sure that they understand and are making educated decisions regarding their involvement. Victims of crime actually have a Bill of Rights under the Uniform Code of Military Justice, which a lot of people aren't aware of. Some of those rights under the Article 6B, which is our Bill of Rights, include the right to be protected from the accused, the right to consult with government counsel, as well as the right to be heard and attend most of the proceedings regarding their case. Again, if clients and victims aren't aware of these rights, they're not going to be able to exercise them and be heard. So as a Special Victims Counsel, it is my job to make sure that our victims' voices are heard, that my clients are empowered, and that my clients are able to have a say in their disposition of their case and what's going on. In recent years, the military has made several changes to the rights and privileges that are available to victims of crime. In 2013, they set up the Special Victims Counsel program, so that's a relatively new development. But one even more recent change is that they have abolished the statute of limitations on sexual assault offenses. So previously, the government prosecutors had 5 years from the commission of the offense to prosecute that case. And if the offense was committed more than 5 years ago, there was a legal bar to prosecuting that case. However, Congress recently abolished that statute of limitations in the military. So there's no time limit now on how long the prosecutors have to bring a case to trial. This helps our clients a lot. We have a lot of cases of delayed reporting where our clients don't report an offense immediately for various personal and very good reasons. And so this now opens up more options and it takes away the pressure that some people feel to report in order to hold people accountable. There's more time. There's no time limit in order to bring that case to trial. Additionally, victims now have the right to be accompanied to defense counsel interviews. Previously, if victims did not have an attorney, they would have to go to those interviews by themselves. But now the clients, even clients that aren't represented by SVCs, now have the right to attend those interviews with the government prosecutor or their victim advocate, or both. It's up to them. So protections for victims in the military have developed a lot over the last several years. Sex-related offenses remain in the perpetrator's record, even if a perpetrator receives a letter of reprimand or a letter of counseling for a sex-related offense. That triggers an automatic discharge in the military. So there is a waiver process and other things that need to be considered, but that discharge proceeding has to be initiated if there is a sex-related offense in that member's record. Additionally, victims are protected from retaliation and reprisal if they're experiencing backlash for taking advantage of the resources that are available to them or for reporting a crime. There are protections for them in the law as well now. And of course, if any victim of a sex-related offense or any individual at all is a victim of sexual harassment, they always have the option to report that to their Equal Opportunities Office as well.
Hello, I'm Charles Anderson, your Suicide Prevention Manager and Violence Prevention Integrator. And you're here today to receive your 2020 Suicide Prevention Training. The Air Force recognized that there may be someone in the classroom who has experienced interpersonal violence or self-harm, or maybe even committed suicide or thought about committing suicide. So we're here to give you the training this morning, and we need to know that when we talk about suicide prevention, building connections are very important. Why do I say that? How do I build connections? Well, I reach out to family member, friends, and I check on them to make sure that they're okay. And also, they check on me as well. So the question is now, how do you build connections? Just think about that. Connections are a vital, important part of suicide prevention. Being there for someone, checking in on someone, wanting someone to check in on you, that's what it's all about, taking care of one another. And so when we talk about suicide prevention, individuals are under some type of duress or distress, things that are going on in their lives and, things that are changing, things that they can't control, and they just, don't know what to do. So it's up to us to help them out, because guess what? Stress, it's a normal part of life. And we all go through stress. We all get stressed out. And I just want to give you a few signs, or maybe you can even think about a few signs of stress that you go through and, family members go through, and you can kind of, identify with what I'm talking about. So when we talk about stress, we talk about mood changes, mood swings. We all have them. We all go through those little changes. Sometimes we have so much on our minds, we have difficulty sleeping. Can anybody else agree with that? That when you're stressed out and when you're going through things that you have trouble sleeping, that you don't know what to do, you have depression, you go through an anxiety. So we go through a gamut of mood changes and mood swings in our lives. So we got to make sure that we're reaching out to one another, checking on one another, and building those connections, right? What about irritability? Have you ever been irritated, agitated, angry? Some more signs of stress or distress that individuals may be going through, especially when they're thinking about self-harm or even committing suicide. So we want to make sure that we're reaching out and we're doing the best that we can to make sure that we're taking care of our friends and our loved ones. The Air Force has a program or a program called ACE. As a matter of fact, here it is right here. When we talk about ACE, the acronym A means ask. We want to ask our airmen, our co-workers, are you feeling like committing suicide or self-harm? Are you okay? So we want to ask that question. And guess what? We want to get an answer, because the answer is very important to us and to you, depending on what that person you ask say. And then we want to go to C. C stands for care, right? We want to care for them, right? You want individuals to care for you. Your loved ones care about you and care for you. And the same thing when it comes to your coworkers, your friends, and family members. They need to know that you care, that you're there for them. I'm there for them when they're going through stress and having difficulties in their life. And the final one is E. E means escort. So depending on what they answered when you asked them, did they feel like committing suicide, they're giving you an answer. So if they said yes, they felt like that, the E stands for escort, which means that we got to get them to some professional help. Either we're going to call paramedics or we're going to get them to mental health or someone that can help them, because we can't provide the service that they need at the time when they tell you that they're thinking about committing suicide. So we want to make sure that we escort them and get them to the proper care so they can receive the proper services. Also, when we talk about suicide prevention, you got to think about the mentality or the mindset that an individual is going through. What made them think about wanting to commit suicide or even self-harm? And we got to remember those things that, hey, there are signs and symptoms that are out there, and sometimes they're hard to detect. And so, but if you love someone and care someone, if you're around them enough, you'll know when their demeanor changes or something about them changes, and you'll say, are you okay? Do you need help? Right? And so we got to monitor those things and check in with them. The Air Force has this program now. It's called SLOW. Go slow, they say. An acronym, just SLO, which means when it comes to suicide prevention, one lethal mean of suicide is weapons, medication, things of that they can easily get a hold to at any certain time. So this acronym SLOW stands for, if they have a weapon or medication, there may be a safe that they can use that information can be locked up in or stored in. That's what the S is for. The O is for outside. And so if they have a weapon, maybe they can store it outside of the home so it doesn't be easy access for them to get a hold to commit suicide. And L means for location outside of the home where they can store their weapons that they may be thinking about using to commit suicide. So all these things are important, and this program is very important, and we want to make sure that we exercise and let them know that, hey, that they're not there by themselves, and we're here for them, and we're going to be here for them through the duration of whatever they may be going through, which is very important. Because I would want someone to be there for me if I was going through a difficult time in my life. So in closing, we want to remember building connections are important, and it is a vital part of suicide prevention. Letting someone know that you care about them and you're there for them. We must be active in reaching out to other resources that are out there for mental health. We need to know that there's a handout that we provided to you as well during the course of this training that has plenty of resources for you as well. So make sure you be a resource and use the resources. And so in closing, the person that is showing you this video need to ensure that they get a sign-in roster and get that sign-in roster to your unit training manager so that you can get credit for the training that you're receiving today. And so take care of each other, be there for each other, and remember, ACE, ask, care, escort. Thank you.
On behalf of the Sexual Assault Prevention and Response Office,
In the Suicide Prevention Office,
thank you for being a part of our annual 2020 training. Please remember all of the resources that have been listed during this training. They will play at the end of this video as well. As always, please reach out to any local resources or the national resources that you may need, and we thank you again for participating in our training.